remark from them.
Yeah, look, I think Joe was trying to send a message to the league like, hey, what is the deal? We can't get a game at home that's primetime. And I would feel a little differently. Like, I thought it was maybe a prime Sunday spot, beyond Sunday night football, but one of the prime, like a 4 o'clock game. I get it a little bit. It's a Thursday night, or if it were a Monday night when everybody's watching the whole league, there's no other games going on. But still, so I understand kind of his frustration, but I just think even if you feel that way, you don't say it because it comes off as weak. And it can give your team just slightly an excuse or even put doubt in your mind that, you know what I mean? Like, we have an excuse to lose. Fact is, he's been bad against, not bad, but losing against the Ravens. He's 3-6 against the Ravens, lost the last 4 games against them. I think 5 of his last 6 against the Ravens. So whenever it's played, you got to be like, we're going to win that game. So I just think this shows a little weakness that could not be the best thing for the locker room.
Listen, you guys know how much I respect and like Joe Burrow and how great I think he is. I just don't understand why, just like we said during the midst of the Patriots' reign, why people didn't just take more pages out of their book.
I buy that.
The Chiefs, I understand the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl. I get it. But this period of dominance by them, and certainly dominance over the AFC, one of the trademarks of it has been, when are we playing? Where are we playing? Ready to go. Last year they played every day of the week but Wednesday or Tuesday, one of the two. They're now playing on all the holidays. And it is, while they might privately or inside their own walls grumble about it, the 3 games in 10 days they had at the end of the year, publicly it's like, what do we got to do?
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, and Joe Burrow, this is not his fault at all. He is the least culpable. But if the NFL wants Joe Burrow on standalone primetime games, and they can't be like, well, pencil him in for January in the playoff run. And so you might need to get the Bengals on early and often in the regular season because we don't know if they're going to be on in the postseason. And so, it just is what it is. You're going to play Baltimore twice every single year. As long as you're there and Lamar Jackson's there, some of those games, if not both of them, are going to be the marquee game or one of the marquee games of the week. I get nobody likes road Thursday games. Nobody does. I understand that. But it's also I don't think the NFL is targeting the Bengals. I don't think they're trying to give a gift to Baltimore. It's how this. Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you what hit my radars, because my antennas went up. This one I was watching, boom! I had a quick moment reading this article. It reminded me of how the NBA right now is top 3: Luka, Joker, SGA. And if you're Giannis, you're like, am I kind of out of the mix right now? No one talking, Ant even. Yeah. Am I not the face of the league? I'm kind of out. So it's Joe Burrow complaining a little bit about this. It's just, it was an aside. He also talked about part of the reason I wanted to do quarterback, so he volunteered for that, was to grow the game internationally. He was also advocating for an international game. So outside of just, hey, maybe you don't think it's the bravest face to go
that
for
his
it.
star is taking a bit of a hit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
That he's not making the play. He was injured, and it was just if I'm healthy, I'm good. Well, last year you were healthy, and you sat and watched everybody else, and it feels like maybe some guys passed you, and maybe now it's just Mahomes, Allen, Lamar. Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, CJ. It's hey,
and don't forget Jalen.
And
Jaden,
of course.
And Jaden.
Yeah, Jaden and Jalen. And Drake May.
I don't feel like it was that because.
But it registered.
I mean, when it was interesting, and I think he's sincere. But that's Nick's point. I even feel that way with Anthony Edwards sometimes. Sometimes don't say you were confused. That they bottled me. They locked me up. I didn't know what to do.
4 guys there.
Right. But I think he was sincere in that wanting to play overseas to grow the game. But look, this is not even a diss. Trevor's over there every other week.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like they're sending all the marquee.
Yeah, okay. Well, we don't have to talk about Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence because they're over there every week because they know that they're nothing. So, they're not hurting any of the real teams out there. But listen, okay. I wanna attack this from multiple angles here. Because one, I don't think it's soft. First of all, I love when players speak out loud to this. I love that Ant was like, I'm confused, and they bottled me up. On one side, if I'm like the coaching staff and I'm in Ant's corner, I'm like, no, don't say that. But as a fan, outside looking in, I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. I would love to hear a player as great as you admit, I was confused. They were doing things that I was uncomfortable with. I love that. I know that now as a fan. Like, I just love that. It's important to hear for people who are also trying to be great, where they're like, oh, if he can get confused, well, then I can get confused. Like, I love that level of honesty. And I had a take last week where I was talking about it's kind of a bootleg that the Eagles are in Arrowhead. Again, like in Kansas City. I'm like, that's not fair. I was like, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs should come to Philly. Mahomes should experience the Philly crowd, primetime game, all of that. Like, you're also robbing the Philadelphia Eagles fans of that experience. And someone was like, oh, the players don't care. And I'm like, that's nonsense. Of course they do. And they're like, no, players love the challenge of being on the road. I didn't say they don't like the challenge or that they don't want it, but you also want to be able to play in front of your own home crowd against a big rival, against someone like Patrick Mahomes, whatever it may be. Everybody wants to have all of the experiences, quite frankly. You want a mix of it all. I want to know what it's like to win a huge game on the road with the fans booing and screaming and hating me. I also want to know what it feels like to win a huge game at home with my crowd, my army, all behind me. As athletes, you want it all. You want to experience it all. You live for it on all ends of the spectrum. So when I see something like this too, I also don't think that it's weak or that now you're making excuses or this or that. Like, I think it's fair to be like, man, 4 straight years in primetime in Baltimore, like, what the heck? Why? How are we not going to get this primetime game in Cincinnati? I think that's fair to say. And just because you say things out loud, it doesn't mean that it's weak, doesn't mean that it's soft. Like, that's always, you really have things that are kind of cut down the middle here. One, you have the media trying to be like, oh, that's the media, who, especially for people who've never played sports before, they always want to talk about what's strong and how things should be. And it's like, in terms of what you think comes off as weak or not, like, I just don't care as much. I'll be totally honest. And then on the other side, when you have ex-athletes, you have them so hard down the middle where they're just like, this is the weakest thing I've ever heard, and they give this such bravado. Like, it's always, the example that I always use is when they're like, everyone's always injured at, by this time, that's no excuses. And it's like, all right, I get it. You're a tough guy. Great. Fantastic. And then you have other people that bring a little bit more nuance and are like, yeah, like, this is what I was feeling. I remember back when I was playing and at this time and this happened, and and they add a little bit more nuance to it. And the one example that I can think of too with regards to this of like when something sounds weak versus when something actually is weak is I unfortunately would get banged up a lot, but I always played. Always played. I was the type of person who just laid it all out there no matter what, relentlessly. And my closest friend for various teams and over the years, I would just kind of complain to him, I guess, a little bit. Like, oh, dude, like, my knee is so jacked up, this or that. And then I remember one time he's like, man, you always complain, quit your complaining or something like that. And this is when I was a little bit younger. And it kind of got to me where I was like, oh, do I complain too much? Do I whine? Which is really not that true. But like, I'd be like, oh man, do I do that? Like, am I being weak? Am I being weak? And then it was so funny because as the years went on, I really kind of thought about it, and I was like, I never left a game. I never left a practice. I'd get concussed. I'd shred my knees, get meniscus. I mean, like, I was wearing knee braces at the age of like 12 and heel cups at the age of like 8, like, no exaggeration. I played on teams where I could barely walk, where I was just like in tears. I'd cry myself to sleep. Like, I sacrificed my body nonstop all day, every day. There was not a single thing weak about me. And I'm not trying to be like, I'm the man, I'm the greatest, but like, it's true though. I went all in all the time, just nonstop. And that person who said, oh man, quit your complaining, I can't. I couldn't even remember all the times that he came out of games that he would complain and be like, "Oh, my back, I can't play," and like this or that. "Oh, I heard something pop in my ankle." There's so many times that he like limped off the court or limped off the field, and it was like he had to go to the hospital, and nothing ever mattered. One of the last times that I really kind of talked to him, because we kind of just stopped talking, he was like, "Oh, man, I was playing ball and I hurt my ankle and I really heard something pop." And he went to the hospital and he was on crutches. And I just was like, And I knew he was going to be fine. 3 days later, perfectly fine. No issue. When I go to the hospital, I need to go get emergency surgery. Okay? The one year when I tore my meniscus, I just hopped around for a week because it was jammed into my knee joint. And I went down into the city and still celebrated New Year's Eve like it was nothing. So, like, just because you say things out loud and just because you're honest about what you're thinking, it's not weak, man. Nothing weak about it. So I take issue with that, quite frankly. I mean, people keep trying to paint Joe Burrow as weak, and they did this last offseason as well, when he dyed his hair and, and that, and some of the other stuff that he does. And it's just like, Joe Burrow's a baller, man. Joe Burrow is a baller, and I'm sorry, Cincinnati Bengals fans, but he got drafted to a terrible franchise, a franchise that has not done anywhere close enough to support this man's career. If Joe Burrow went to the Eagles, the 49ers, the Ravens, the Chiefs, of course, heck, even the Dallas Cowboys, he'd be in the GOAT conversation. He most likely would have won a Super Bowl, at least one, if not two. I mean, Joe Burrow is special. Special. And I appreciate him saying out loud, because it is BS. Straight up, it's not being weak. It's not weak being like, we've been on the road 4 straight games, 4 straight times against Baltimore in prime time. When are you going to give us this primetime game in Cincinnati? That's totally okay to say out loud. It is a misstep on the NFL, which is why when I said about OKC and Philly, I was like, there should be a variation here. It should be like, if you win the Super Bowl, you get to host, or actually the opposite. Since you won, you don't get to host, and if you played each other multiple times, like the Eagles and the Chiefs have been, it's got to be, you played in Arrowhead already. You won the Super Bowl the year before, 2 years before they won the Super Bowl. Like, it makes sense. If you're really trying to keep things a little bit equal, the Chiefs should be playing, on the road. Philly at home. Same thing even with the Bills and the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are on the road again against the Bills. It's like, I don't know, that shouldn't be the case. Now, you can make the argument, well, in the playoffs, because obviously now if you're in the same conference and whatnot, it's a little bit easier to do this. It's like, well, they were in the playoffs and they were in Arrowhead for the AFC Championship game. This time around, we won it in Buffalo. Like, I could kind of see that argument because you kind of got that experience. I could see that, but it's kind of comically hilarious to also use the Kansas City Chiefs as a reference point to be like, well, they never complain, they never do this or that. They just put their head down and keep working hard. And it's like, because the NFL has been very, 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 very supportive of the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, let's be serious here. Okay, the NFL and all the attention, all the media, all the commercials, all the energy, the Taylor Swift nonsense, the official NFL pages, and all of that. It's just it's been the NFL Chiefs, okay? So, like, let's be serious here. Like, well, they'll play on Christmas, and it's like, yeah, okay. Like, I don't know. Just funny to me. But, Draymond Green years ago was like, how many times are we going to be on the road on Christmas? He's just kind of like, what the heck? Is Draymond Green weak? No, he's not. The dude is an absolute dog and a monster and a beast. And he's like, bro, I want to be home for Christmas at least once with my kids. We can play on Christmas, but, like, can it be a home game? And again, I'm not crying any tears for Draymond, because Draymond, you're living an amazing life. You're winning rings. You're making a gajillion dollars. So in your household, you celebrate Christmas on December 26th. No big deal, right? Open up presents with your beautiful kids and your wife on December 26th. On December 23rd, it's a little weird. You're a gajillionaire. You play in the NBA. Just the way it works, man. What are you going to do? All right, and your kids will love it. So it just is what it is. But at the same time, the what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not the integrity, but the principle of it all. Yeah, it makes sense then. I'm not going to ever fault someone for speaking that part out loud. And to try to get it twisted that it sounds weak or that they're trying to make an excuse, I guarantee you, this is what players will also be talking about. This is the kind of stuff that they'll talk about in the locker room. This is stuff that they'll talk about when they're kind of like in some line waiting to do drills, or they're on their side. They'll be like, yo, man, we're playing in Baltimore again on the road. And they'll be like, what? Are you serious again? And they're like, yeah, man. They're like, that's nonsense. Like, why can't we be home? Like, this is stuff they say. These are people too. Most of them are just kids still. Like, it's just like, it just is what it is. So he said it out loud. So we can try to pretend like these are the conversations or these are the thoughts that the players don't have. That they have this barbaric kind of like, I don't care, any place, anytime, anywhere mentality. And it's like, that exists too. But also the other side of this exists as well. That much is very obvious. And the last point I'll say is like, I kind of actually think Brew highlighted this perfectly and wrongly though with Ant, where it's just like, Ant shouldn't have said that, this or that, and it's like, I agree with that, but then you just want Ant to pretend like, nah, man, they can't stop me, nah, I just had a bad game, or I didn't even have a bad game, it just didn't work out for me yet, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, well, that's actually not true though then. That's false bravado, and actually showing vulnerability is actually how you get stronger. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Joe Burrow admitting, confessing, revealing that he would like to play at home against Baltimore in a primetime game? Let me know in the comments below. I'll read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.